Hello everyone and welcome to my library. My name is Chinsia. I hope you're doing so well. If you're new here, hi, welcome, settle in, get a cup of tea, sit down with your favourite book. And if you're not new here and you're one of my lovely regulars, hi, how are you? I hope you're doing fabulously today. So today we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome. More specifically for me, the discussion was around imposter syndrome in academia, how I currently feel about it, if I suffer from it, as it were, or not. But I thought a general discussion of imposter syndrome would be quite interesting for many people because I have a few thoughts that are not of the norm, one would say. I mean, they're kind of, I don't know. I've watched and listened to a lot of people discuss imposter syndrome podcasts, YouTube channels, etc. And I actually have a slightly different take on it because put it this way, I was expecting one thing when going into my PhD and I'm kind of experiencing something else. Maybe it's too early, maybe it's early days, maybe in a year's time I'll be like eating my own words. But for now, I have a different take on it. So I would like to share those thoughts with you in case anyone related to it or had anything to add to the conversation. But before I get into the conversation, today's video is actually sponsored by Skillshare, so let me roll that ad because that's actually a really good course that I want to recommend with you on Skillshare this month, and then we'll get back into our discussion. The perfect creative career doesn't just fall into your lap. Even the most talented and successful creatives make a plan to ensure their aspirations are realised. This is where Holly M. Cooley Murchison comes in. She knows firsthand that the creative path is a winding one, and she has spent her career helping creatives and entrepreneurs better understand and articulate their strengths, ideas, and visions so that they may reach their future goals. If this class sounds interesting to you and right up your alley, then you should really consider joining Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. The Skillshare offers a membership with meaning. There are inspiring classes for imaginative and curious people on topics such as minimalism, productivity, personal finance, freelancing, bullet journaling, and goal setting, just to name a few. So with so much to explore, real projects to create, and the support of fellow creatives, Skillshare empowers you to accomplish real growth. Skillshare has kindly sponsored this video, and with that, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description box below will get 1 month free trial of Skillshare to explore their creativity starting today. So if you want to support this channel, then please consider using the link in the description box below, and thank you so much, Skillshare. Hi, welcome back. Okay, so imposter syndrome, what is it? Imposter syndrome tends to be a discussion of people who are trying to explain that they don't feel right, that they feel like they've cheated the system in whatever they are. So in academia, for example, people feel imposter syndrome when they just don't feel like they're clever enough to be there, that they kind of cheated the system. Maybe they got grant money that they feel they don't deserve, and that's why they're in the system and they're like, oh no, this should have gone to someone else, I'm not smart enough, I'm not clever enough, I'm not good enough to be here. And the same transfers into different scenarios. So imposter syndrome actually came about in 1978. It was coined by two psychologists, Pauline Rose Clance and Suzanne Imes. And these two female psychologists actually coined the term in regards to their clientele, who they had noticed they worked with a lot of very successful women in the field, or in whatever field they were in. They were very successful, high-achieving women who were all saying that they felt like they cheated the system, they didn't belong here, that they faked their way to the top, and it was this kind of like self-dichotomy of, I feel unworthy of being here, but I'm being paid to be here. And actually, as you know, psychologists exchange notes, it became more of a widespread issue. It wasn't just these female high achievers, it was actually a lot of people. And the first issue is the following. Imposter syndrome isn't a diagnosis. It's actually not a syndrome. It's not something that people can have in the mental health field. It's a term, but it seems very obscure to have something labelled as a syndrome which isn't a syndrome. Like, you can't have it. But in all honesty, that's probably just how ideas work, how the validity of an experience perforates through the system. But at the end of the day, it isn't something that we can be diagnosed with. It's not something that we have, it's something we experience, like happiness, but we don't call it happiness syndrome. It's just a thing. If anything, underconfidence, feelings of low self-worth are more inclined to be something that is diagnosable because they can lead on to traits such as, you know, depression, mental health issues such as anxiety, etc. But imposter syndrome isn't a thing. So the idea it's called a syndrome in of itself is contentious, to say the least. But let's talk about it in more like generalized terms. Leading up to my PhD, I came across like lots of, you know, podcasts, etc. of people discussing imposter syndrome in academia. You know, feeling again like you're not smart enough, etc. Feeling you don't belong here. And I was expecting it hit me when I started. And it hasn't hit me. I'm not sure why, but I think it's because I just have a different leniency into the imposter syndrome. And let me explain. So one of the core traits of imposter syndrome, and one of the things that leads to imposter syndrome, I'm saying syndrome, it seems so weird, the feelings of inadequacy, effectively, the feelings of underconfidence and inadequacy, and the idea of like faking it, is that people who suffer from it have a particular behavioural pattern. That is, they feel unworthy, so they'll go the extra mile to work exceptionally hard to achieve something. And when that thing is achieved, they inadvertently read back that information as, you only got there because you had to work exceptionally hard, harder than other people would expect you to. And because you overachieved, or you overworked to get the certain achievement, you feel as though that your normal level of working isn't good enough, and therefore you develop the sense of incompetency, natural imposter syndrome. You feel like you had to, you know, go the extra mile when that's not your natural status to be there. But in all honesty, that's just how hard work works. Like, none of us are naturally, you know, there's very few geniuses in the world that just like glide into places. There are very few, like, you know, top mathematicians or, you know, top artists and things like that who just glide into their position without having to try above the basal level of being. In all honesty, that's just how progression works in life. You have to go extra hard to get somewhere, and then you're going to have to probably work extra hard again to get to the next level, etc. So in of itself, the dynamics of imposter syndrome is almost like a disassociation between what it actually takes to get there. There is a disconnect between successful people and oneself. One believes that successful people are naturally successful. They naturally belong there. They glided into the system, when in all matter of fact, that's just how the process works. Like, what you did to get where you are is just a natural progression of how to get somewhere. Unless we're talking about things like nepotism, because, you know, you may, I don't know, let's do a Downton Abbey in my head here. We have two characters here. One is gentry, the other one is just like a young lad who used to, an Irish young lad, which is a chauffeur. She fell in love with him. Suddenly he's in this, like, you know, gentrified family where he doesn't belong. He may get imposter syndrome there. That's kind of a valid experience of feeling alienated outside. You don't naturally belong in the circumstance. But when it comes to like careers, education, job markets, you know, as your role as an artist, etc., very different dynamic. It's not a born right that we are in academia or we are in a certain dynamic. So we're not going into the Downton Abbey roots of like gentrification and upper class and all that jazz, but we're talking more about the natural progression of feeling like we don't belong where we are. And you know, when I started my PhD, I was waiting for it to hit me. I was waiting for it to be like, oh no, I'm immediately going to feel like I'm not smart enough. I'm going to feel like I don't belong here. I shouldn't be doing this. And I've literally felt the complete opposite. And I think, I'm not sure if it's just how I've changed as a person. And I wouldn't say it's a confidence that I have about myself. I'm not even sure I could even relate it to confidence. For me, I've kind of leaned into the fact that when you're an imposter, you're scared of being found out, as it were. You're scared of people realizing that you're not as smart as they think you are, or you're not as intelligent as the status of being a PhD student allows you to, you know, present to the world. You're scared of all these things of being sussed out. And if anything, I'm just completely open and say, I have no fucking clue what I'm doing here. Like, I genuinely have no clue. I'm completely leaning in to the fact that I'm going to ask the stupid questions. I'm going to say if I don't get something. I'm going to say, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to say that it's falling apart. I'm stressed. I am very happy to admit when I'm struggling to someone, when I don't know something, like, what does this acronym mean? You all kept saying this acronym and I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, little things like that. I am very happy to be the person that asks, because if I don't ask, I will be like an imposter. Like, what? I'm an imposter if I don't ask, if I don't give, you know, the clues that, hi, I don't know what I'm doing. Hi, I'm new here. Hi, I have no idea what you're talking about. Hi, what does that mean? What is that? When's that due? Where's the form? I don't know how this website works anymore. Like, if I were to fake that I don't know about it, I would be an imposter. But that's just self-sabotage. If you're somebody who's so, I don't know, so scared of being seen as silly or as unintelligent, whatever, then you are leaning into the imposter because you are faking it. You're faking being something that you're not. You're faking being more knowledgeable than you're not. And that's not saving face. That's doing yourself a disservice as a human being. You can't grow if you continue to lie about what you know, lie about the extent of your knowledge. I'm very happy to say I don't know things. Like, I'm taking French classes, I've got no idea, I'm making mistakes. I'm not sure if I've got to that stage in my life that I can't really remember how I was at the beginning of my university degree. All I know is that I loved it. All I know is that I loved the process of learning. And if anything, for the past few years, I've been living as an imposter in my life. And that's not to say that, you know, everything I lived was a lie. But it wasn't where my passions lay. It wasn't where my values lay. And I'm suddenly now in a community of people who are so wonderfully embracing of ignorant people like myself. I don't know what I'm doing. And everyone's so nice about it because they expect me to not know what I'm doing. If anything, fundamentally, that's the role of a researcher. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know the results. That's what research is for. Like, that is the very art of research. You go in not knowing something and you have to keep learning, and then you have to learn something else, and you have to learn something else. And it's basically a continuous chase of, I am ignorant, I need to learn more, until you get to a stage of your PhD thesis where you've built something, you've popped something together that you then have to defend because you're the expert in this field now. Like, everyone would come to you for this. But there are other areas of like ancient history and research that I won't know. I'll get there eventually, maybe one day, but there'll always be something I don't know. And I kind of lean into that. Is that imposter syndrome, or is that just being human? Is that just feeling, yeah, you get moments of being underconfident, yeah, you sometimes feel like you're inadequate. That's the process of growing. That's why we're here. No, like I know I'm not this natural genius. I know I'm not excellent at research. I know I'm not excellent in the field of archaeology or anthropology or classicism. They're not my fields. I don't know why I even went to those. They're not my field. I know F all about archaeology. Like, don't ask me. You can ask my cousin. She's got a PhD in it. I know F all. But again, she'd know nothing about classical, ancient, classic history archaeology. Her realm was... What was her realm? Something with pots and shards. Whatever area that is. I basically know nothing past the freaking Roman Empire. After that, it's just like, Saxons, you do your thing, boo. I have no interest in you. But that's the whole point. Like, and that's the beauty of this weird little community that is academia. Like, everyone has their little spocks and specks of what they're researching. And they don't expect people to know. And when you're writing your research, you write it in a way where people who know nothing about it get it. They get what you're talking about. But you did all the hard work. You're just transferring it into a nice, easy, readable, digestible resource. And if anything, it just gave me a huge lease of life. And, you know, as I've said on my Instagram stories recently, actually just last night, was it? I can't remember now. But I said how I'm going to do more videos of like digestible classics and, you know, or theories. So if you're interested in philosophy and philosophical theories or literary theories in general, like just theories, like what is this theory? I have no idea how to explain it. Or ancient, you don't want to know what I thought I was going to say. Ancient classics and ancient history, mythology, all that jazz. I just thought it'd be fun because that's what I loved doing. That's why the dissemination of knowledge, and it goes way back to when I was at school. Obviously I can't share my research, that's a whole other, you have to keep that kind of private when you're going through it. You can tell I'm clearly doing classics and classical reception and all that jazz. So that's my field, that's my area. But yeah, if anything, it was such a weirdly validating experience of going into a place and going, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Isn't that magnificent? Like, I am so proudly an imposter. Like, and it's because I'm not PhD status yet. I'm a student and I'm not there yet. When I'm a doctorate, it may be completely different. Maybe I'm like, I shouldn't be here. Maybe I'm doing my Viva, I'll be like, I shouldn't be here. But I don't know anyone who's got to their Viva level and thought, I shouldn't be doing this. Like, they know their subject. They've spent so many years intimately examining it, writing about it, reading about it, that they're fine by then. I know I'm not there yet. That's the beauty of being a student. I'm just embracing it. And I think that's been one of my weird, not benefits, but attributes all my life, is that I'm very happy to admit when I don't know something. And I don't find that weird. Like, I'm human. See, let me tell you a weird little story. This is a weird little story, but when I worked in a supermarket once, for some weird reason, people found out that I went to university, and I have no idea how they found out. Basically, a manager had told them that I'd gone to university and leaked it because someone came up to me going, "You've got a master's degree, what are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Earning a check." What does it look like? But it was really, I was so annoyed. Basically, managers don't share people's private information. But basically, one day, this one guy came up to me in the shop and he said, "Cinzia, what does X word mean?" I can't even remember. I'm stacking milk. I'm not paying attention. And I was like, "Sorry, I don't know. I'm stacking the milk." And he goes, "It means blah, blah, blah. That degree clearly didn't pay off." And walked off. And I was like, did that make you feel better? Did that make you feel better? Are you happy? Are you like, what? I'm literally cleaning up, like, a milk carton exploded on the back of the shelf. I'm like stacking, one of them blew up. I'm milking it up. Hey. But yeah, you know, it's just, I don't care. Like, I don't know everything. There'll be words that you just throw at me that I have no idea. I'm dyslexic. A lot of the words I say, I mispronounce so badly. It's who I am. And there seems to be this weird, I mean, not weird, it's very natural for people to, you know, tell people with imposter syndrome, like, you know, not embrace it, but they say, like, you know, you belong here, you deserve this, like, whatever. Yeah, that's true too. Like, I'm not saying it's not true to say, like, you know, work up your confidence, build it up, but at the same time, kind of lean into it. There's so much more to life than knowing it all or putting appearances. I'm not going to put up an appearance. And if I feel underconfident or I feel like a little bit insecure, I'm going to ask questions, because that's what I do. And that's what I've always done. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to try and poke and get to know something better. The only way we can overcome this feeling is just by prodding at ourselves. If we're feeling imposter syndrome, ask why. Why do we feel like an imposter? Is it because there's something about this industry that I don't know more about? Is there something about this section that I know nothing about? Is there something about my writing that I don't feel confident in that I can actually work on because I'm kind of ignoring it to the back? Like, say it's grammar. Maybe you're a writer, but you're actually really bad at grammar. Can you just learn more about grammar? Can you get some more books? Eat shoots leaves, all that jazz, read about grammar. Or, you know, get a writing coach and work with them. That wasn't me plugging my own services. I just genuinely thought about it. But you know, it's, when we have imposter syndrome, it's normally because we don't want to admit that we don't know something. And it's always about embracing what we don't know and just getting over it and starting to learn about it. And there's always leaning in. Because, I don't know, if you're in a toxic work environment or a toxic environment where people are cruel to you for saying that, then that's on them, that's nothing to do with you. Whereas, you know, maybe I've just gone to an excellent, you know, institution, I know the people, I love the people there, and they're just so, they're so lovely to me. I don't know, I've only received so much love and warmth and support for all the stupid questions that I've asked in the past month and a half of being there as a new student. I'm like, what's this? I mean, I even signed, I'm a student rep. I didn't even know what that was. They're like, we need student reps. I'm like, I'll do it. And then afterwards I was like, I have no idea what I just volunteered to do. I was like, I'll just do it. Because how else am I going to know? It's like a secret mystery thing. No one like trained me to be a student rep. I was just like, yeah, I'll do it. And now I'm a student rep. And I'm like, okay. Basically it's like being a prefect, but a university instead, and for a school instead of just like a class. Like, it's insane. But yeah, I just thought I'd share my thoughts on imposter syndrome. I think it's more of a fun take. Thank you again, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below if there's any videos that you'd like me to cover in the future, because Vlogmas is starting. Thank you also for everyone who told me about what you want to see at Vlogmas. I have 24 videos. I've basically taken everything that you've all told me to do in some formal way. I've combined some of you together. But I will give shout outs to people, hopefully, if I remember, like to take the screenshot before I forget who said what video, but that's my plan. And yeah. And also next year I'm going then into the weird like little mini videos about explaining things for fun, because that's what I love doing and that's why I want to lean in, and there's lots of things that I don't know about that I'd love to study and then give a video on it, so I think that'll be really fun. But I hope you are happy and healthy, and remember, books save lives, so keep reading, and also get ready for Vlogmas. I'll see you every day throughout the month of December, so take care, bye!